Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Hearthstone. So we're not making much progress in two different ways. We need to play more minions that cost 5 or more, 9 more, and then we need to use our hero power 12 more times to finish our quests. And I don't think we're going to particularly get it done right now, but in this recording, but maybe not. And then I've got almost everything still to talk about as far as news. And with my new whiteboard, which is much bigger compared to the boogie board, it's probably, yeah, I would say slightly more than double the space. Now I am using a dry erase marker right now with not very much of a fine tip, so text is taking up a little bit more space, but not that much more. So that's certainly something to consider. I'm gonna hold on to this guy. So I have a lot of things to talk about. So Shadow of War, the sequel to, what is it called? What is it? Shadow of Mordor? Yeah, Middle of Shadow of Mordor is the name of the game, which is not the best name in the world, honestly. Let's go ahead and do this. So that was quote-unquote leaked by a Target ad. I don't know if it really was a leak, though, honestly. Recently, the Oscars happened, and they accidentally, quote-unquote, said the wrong name of the people who won the Best Picture, and I think that was probably a staged incident too, and I think both of these are staged incidents. I think this was just a new advertising company's way of getting more people interested, because it is a more interesting story to say somebody leaked the release date of a game instead of saying somebody announced the release date. And it only gets further proven in the case of Shadow War, because they've now come out and admitted it. They've now come out and announced a $300 collector's edition, which is ridiculously expensive. I'm sure that gets you some cheap statue and some other garbage, but I mean, in all seriousness, this is just not a valid use of money, in my opinion. $300. I assume the idea with collector's editions are that there's going to be very few people who actually buy it, and then whatever statues or things that don't sell don't ever either get made or they get sold off at off their online stores. I think also this might be a blatant attempt to normalize more expensive video games. If you put out a $300 collector's edition, that blinds people from the possibility that maybe the new version of the basic version of the game is $65, or more likely that the release is still that standard $60, but there's also a season pass for another $20 that's not getting mentioned. That is also a possibility.
Job's done.
Darn it. I'm gonna lose. So I would heavily recommend nobody buy $300 collector's editions. It's kind of ridiculous to buy anything not digitally anyways these days. I don't see the point, except for in some very rare cases where maybe you don't have good internet. at the end of the day, you're still going to need that day one DLC patch, and that's going to end up ruining the argument of not having good internet anyways. I suppose if you were a collector, because I was talking about the Video Game Historical Foundation and this new foundation pretty much, maybe then you'd get the $300 collector's edition, but you'd have to be a real collector, like, you know it's gonna end up in a museum and everything is mint in box and you don't ever touch it. And frankly, even when you try to get something in boxes, because this happens to me with Legos all the time, is like, I order things from Legos and they pack it badly, and the boxes have stickers on them sometimes, and they're bent, and it's like, oh, you don't even from your own facility treat the packaging very well. They're just not into it. They just don't care. So, like, I'm not sure you can in the Lego case unless you go and pick it up directly from them. I'm not sure you can get a guarantee of an unbent box. I've seen the rightstuff.com, RIGHTSTUF with one F instead of two, sells anime, and they specifically seemed to do a pretty decent job about packing DVDs and Blu-ray box sets, because the DVDs have a tendency to break in the side and become floaters that will move around and scratch, and the box sets are just cardboard boxes that are supposed to look collectible, but there's not really enough quality going on, or quality control going on in it.
Here we go.
So the edges get bent and worn off and scratched and stuff. And the Right Stuff did a pretty good job about boxing that. Lego doesn't do a very good job about it. At least they used to. I haven't ordered anything from the Right Stuff in a long time. So for all I know, it's totally changed. But I'd give them a shout out. Moving on to the next thing, Minecraft has sold over 120 million copies, which is amazing, really. So over 120 people have purchased Minecraft, and like, I just recently saw an ad on YouTube, and this was quite strange, of a Minecraft player, and he's promoting his own channel, and frankly, he wasn't that good.
Here we go.
And he probably spent a lot of money on it. That is something I could do. I could certainly try to make an ad and just promote my own channel on the ad, but I've never seen any other YouTuber do it until today, and it certainly didn't impress or strike me as interesting. So I guess that's something to keep in mind. Let's keep playing. So let's talk about this. Actually, I'm gonna kind of just mention this and then move on, because I have so much to talk about. My server, which has my Minecraft server on it, which that is probably gone. I think I've lost the backup, so if I was gonna start it again, which I did eventually try to set that up and start the process of that, everything that I've built up to that point is shot. It's lost. So I'd have to just generate a new world and begin again and do some different things. Not super upset about that really anyways. it's not like I had done a ton of stuff on Minecraft, nor do I really want to go back to Minecraft. If anything, I'm losing more and more time with every day because I'm getting worse and worse about recording things and falling behind and then airing too many things. 6 videos a day. It's unbalanced. Anyways, my server was broken, to make a already too long story short. And I was running Linux Mint Debian Edition, and I wanted to move away from that and instead try something that's kind of more of a finalized product that would be easier and set everything up. So I was looking at FreeNAS, and just to make a long story short, it was a huge failure. And FreeNAS is not really the greatest of software. FreeNAS is not a Linux build at all. It's using BSD, which is kind of this non-open source compliant fork. And it seems to be that BSD is slightly obsessed with security, and that's fine, but the way they did it is that every time you installed a plugin, it was just making another copy of the entire operating system and giving it a new IP address, and just so instead of one server smoothly and quickly running 6 plugins, which is all I was trying to run, which honestly they only have about 12 plugins to begin with, even available. Every plugin I was adding was drastically taking up more and more just CPU processing power. It wasn't working well at all.
Overdrive engage.
And so, darn it, that was the one I shouldn't have killed. Oh well.
Job done.
Ideally, I would have wanted to kill this guy and then kill the other guy, and I would have gotten 2 Thaddeus's, but whatever. There's some definite security flaws in FreeNAS. By default, if you just wanted to use it as a NAS, network attached storage, to back up, it feels like it's a fine setup, but it's actually missing some things that I kind of demand in a game, in a server. It doesn't have a program called fail to ban. So that's if people try the same password on it multiple times, it will ban that IP address, thus no brute forcing. That kind of doesn't matter by default because your NAS shouldn't be exposed to the internet anyways, but that's an old way of thinking of network security, and it completely ignores the possibility that some kind of virus could get into your network, proxy into your network, VPN into your network, and then attack your NAS. So it was incredibly difficult, and I don't think I ever configured it right to get fail to ban to work, because it's not even offered. It's not even a thought or a plugin. And then simple things like getting the battery backup to work took me an hour and a half on FreeNAS. Like, by default, Linux Mint Debian Edition just sees my battery backup. Obviously, why wouldn't it? That's very, very easy to do, to have drivers and automatic detection for a modern operating system. And see, FreeNAS just doesn't feel like it's an operating system. It uses this ZFS file system, which may be good, but it's not compatible with Linux, so after doing all of this work and formatting all my hard drives to be ZFS, which by the way didn't seem like it didn't me any favors in the RAID setup, and it felt like I lost at least a few terabytes in storage that I could have gotten otherwise. When I went back to Linux Mint Debian Edition, which is so much easier for me to use, mostly because I'd already learned it all, but in comparison, going back to the way my server was set up before, you don't have to put everything in a jail and thus copy the operating system and have multiple servers trying to run at the same time. You can just have one server that runs a lot faster. I did try to turn on deduplication, and they warned that that would severely affect performance. But even before I turned that on, just installing the plugins was taking forever. It just ran slow as dirt. FreeNAS. And so just if you, as I started to think about it, if you want to use FreeNAS and just use it as a NAS and not install any apps, what it's going to do is it's going to give you the idea, if you go through the setup wizard, it's going to give you the idea that everything's working fine. But in actuality, it's not secure, it's not offering you very many options, and it's running slow, and it's just not a good, it's not a good thing to dedicate an entire computer to. And frankly, it's just not as mature an operating system. The other thing I want to do on it is I wanted to have it have block lists, so known IP addresses of people that are DDoS attackers or virus providers and things. Like, there are block lists online, and you can use a program called PeerBlock or Pure Guardian. I don't remember which one is the newer fork of that, and you can't install that either on FreeNAS. So, two just default security factors. Doesn't seem like there's really a firewall. Seems like a ton of ports just through my initial setup were getting opened, and it's really silly. I think in the end, what you would prefer to do is get an Apple time machine if you're an Apple house, and back up to that if you don't want setup. And I think if you don't want to have to mess with computers, which a lot of people don't, you might very well just go with the Apple thing. That is to say, if you can't just avoid not having computers at all. And this certainly doesn't work for video game players, but the idea is there to just get away from needing the backup. You should probably just buy a Apple, and I don't recommend this, but I kind of recommend it. Like, Apple with their Apple backups and timeshare things would work fine. The other thing, of course, is if you're on Windows, just an online backup service is probably better and easier to let somebody else have your trust and then let somebody else violate your trust eventually with that. So yeah, FreeNAS, I cannot imagine anybody liking it. Let me know in the comments if somebody actually does like it and they could get it to work. I couldn't get it to work at all, and I was not finding a lot of support to do the things, the little tweaks I wanted to do. Simple things, like I'd like to be able to expose a single IP address to the internet and then have multiple subfolders. So it would be something like my IP, myserver.com/music, and then the music /music would take me to a plugin of a music service. that I could install, and it just wasn't working that way. It was putting everything at its own IP address, and it would just never. You could never get it to do what ideally I'd want it to do.
Here we go.
It's a shame, really, though, because that's all I really wanted, is something that would stay stable, something that would self-update, something that could look at the hard drives, which are failing, which are probably failing quite quickly, and just keep everything under control. And instead, I wasted an entire day on it, and in the end, just had to go back to building a new server on Linux Mint Debian Edition and redoing everything I've done over the past years, which, like, I'm not sure how much of that I'm really gonna get set up, or how quickly I'm gonna get it set up. But at the very least, I've got it slightly moving in the right direction. Let's see. Moving on, a pro Hearthstone player has quit Hearthstone for Gwent. He cited the randomness of Hearthstone, the balance of Hearthstone, and the fact that he feels that Blizzard doesn't listen to pro players. And I'm sure there's been a few people like that, and this is an easy, sensational story to make, really, because you could, all you need is 2 or 3 people to say that they're quitting, and they'll get lots of views on Twitch or YouTube for saying they're quitting in the first place, and it's not super surprising there. Now, for Gwent, from what I've seen of Gwent, I don't really believe that. Because going to Gwent seems kind of silly. We want to kill this guy, so we'll do this. And then this. And this.
Here we go.
And this. This. And that. And then return. Honestly, I don't think Blizzard should listen to the pro players, because you just can't make this game good by listening to the pro players. All you do then is you make a StarCraft 2 that isn't fun at all for people to play below professional level. And that's not what we want. StarCraft 2 on its easy modes is still easy, but there's no difficulty levels in Hearthstone, because it's all competitive play. And even if you listen to the pros, you're still not really helping competitive play any, because you're not getting new players. And the thing that's going to save the day and really help grow the audience is the new players, not the old players. So I'm glad Blizzard doesn't listen to the pros. I'm kind of sad Blizzard doesn't listen to anybody, because they really need to be listening to the amateurs. And the amateurs aren't saying much with their words as much as they are just playing the games and leaving and never coming back. Randomness, it needs to be about 50-50, honestly, because you can swap a minion's health and attack. Okay. And this.
Here we go.
And that.
Oh, good.
So, yeah, randomness, I can't really do too much about it. Balance, leave the balance alone, honestly. Honestly, I'd say leave the randomness alone, maybe even add a little bit more randomness, and
Just a pinch
and
of
leave the balance fine. Quit changing things, frankly, to make it more balanced, because that's more frustrating than anything. Just leave it, let it be. Let's see. Let's go ahead and take this victory. So yeah, let the pros go to Gwent. Looking at Gwent though, unless they start adding a bunch of new concepts and a bunch of new cards, I just don't see them Gwent working. Oh man. This is weird too. So here's the issue we've got right now. I still have half of the stuff to talk about. I knew talking about the free NAS was going to take up too much time. So we've got to do another recording. And we're going to use the hero power 30 times. And I guess what we'll do is we'll just play ranked and see if we can get up to ranked for 30 minutes. That's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening. I guess I could save my news things. I'm not going to do it. We're going to do another recording, but I may at some point just erase half of my board, since it's not a digital board anymore, and just add more news in the part I erased. That's an interesting idea. Anyways, thanks for watching. Have a good evening.